The barangay is the most basic form of government in our country. It is grassroots democracy in action. But how effective and efficient are our elected officials in serving their constituents? What are their roles and responsibilities? Joining us tonight here on NewsLife to inform and educate all of us on how elected barangay officials should perform their duties is Dr. Edna from the University of the Philippines and one of the country's top political analysts on governance. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to NewsLife.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here.
Ma'am, let's begin. A lot of people are actually fighting for these posts. How important are these barangay official seats?
Actually, barangay is the very basic and the closest unit of government to our people, and which is why the face of government is actually the barangay. It is for this reason as well that the barangay officials should have a stronger link and a stronger interaction with our community people. At the moment, if you look at our history, the history of our barangay is that the people put their trust in their barangay representatives, their barangay officials, and it is in this spirit that the barangay becomes a social capital, form of a social capital. It is the unit where most people put their choices, put their trust in the government. On the other hand, over the years, our barangay has become an administrative, a political, and a technical unit in the sense that the barangay becomes the machinery of our local government for delivering services, all forms of services. It's also the mechanism by which higher local officials depend on the barangay for all forms of support and service delivery to the people. And therefore, I would say that over the years, the barangay, which has become a political and administrative unit, has been laden with a lot of responsibilities, with a lot of power, and a lot of discretion as well.
Ma'am, how crucial are the barangay council in achieving good governance overall?
Actually, the barangay is very crucial in terms of good governance because, as I said, they deliver the frontline services to the community people. They also should represent the people in terms of formulating and making policies and laws as far as the community people are concerned. And that should be the voice of the people. We should bring that voice to our government. On the other hand, it's the barangay, which is supposed to be the transmission line of services between government and the people.
Ma'am, speaking about budgets of barangay councils, do they have their own budget based on their own planning, based on their consultations with their constituents, or is it guided by their mayor's overall development plan?
Actually, the budget of the barangay is also a part of what we call the internal allotment. They have a share from the national government. It actually constitutes 20% of the internal revenue allotment, which is allocated for local government units. Depending on whether you are a big or a small barangay, your internal revenue allotment can also be huge, or it may be small. But on top of it, the barangay has the freedom and the right to also utilize revenue mobilization mechanisms. They can generate funds. They can also be direct recipients of grants and of other funds. So barangay is actually tremendously has a potential to generate their own revenues.
Ma'am, has there been a study on how the funds are actually utilized, and is there less corruption in the use of these funds in the barangay level?
We cannot say that there is less corruption in the usage of public funds. Of course, everyone has to keep watch on the barangay as well. For as long as people do not keep watch on the usage of the public funds, then actually barangay can be equally vulnerable to the abuse of public resource. So it actually depends on two things. One is the choice of people that we put at the level of the barangay, whether these people have integrity and whether they are trustworthy, but also on the other hand, the structure by which the funds are utilized should be carefully scrutinized, should be strictly compliant to the rules of accountability and so on.
Ma'am, by law, who serves as the check and balance of the monitoring or the monitoring of these funds used by the barangays?
Well, actually, by law, they are supposed to report to the people how they use their barangay funds, and therefore there should be a transparency and accountability on the use of funds. Secondly, after the use of funds, we have the Commission on Audit, which provides the report on whether there has been faithful compliance to the rules and or whether there has been an abuse on the use of funds.
Ma'am, earlier you stated that you feel that there is a need to appoint barangay officials instead of electing them. Can you expound more on this statement?
I thought that the process of public service at the level of the barangay and the trustworthiness of the position to become representatives of the community people have already escaped so much the barangay. And it is in the sense that my view also is there is a need to review how the barangay officials are chosen, and if only to provide better harmony and better cooperation between levels of our local government. I think the barangay should support our local officials and our government in terms of providing efficient services, and so to diminish the politicization of that post, of the position, I think it is better that we alter the rules on the selection of barangay officials. That is, of course, given opportunity to have an amendment of our local government code. But as it is right now, our only defense and our only resort is to make the right and the correct choices of people who should occupy the barangay position.
Ma'am, given an ideal scenario, an ideal setting, how should the synergy of the LGU and the barangay councils be like?
The barangay council and the local government unit should, in an ideal setting, be supportive of each other, because actually both, whether it's the city or the town and the barangay, are all mechanisms by which our people at the community level depend for services, and they both are the mechanisms by which the aspirations and the needs of people have been or are supposed to be brought forward to the government. So there should be no check and balance in the same way that probably Congress or the executive would check on each other. It should actually be more stronger cooperation between or among the levels of our local government.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Edna Ko, one of the country's top political analysts and strategists.
My pleasure.
Now we'll take a short break. Stay with us.